Alright kids, we're going to practice our counting again, and in this case we're going to use rocks and pine cones to help us with our counting. If you would like to make something like this at home, we just used paint for the dots on our numbers, and this will just help us count and recognize which numbers we're looking at. It's called touch math, so you can touch the dots and then you can feel how big your number is. So we'll start over with this number here, and this number is 0, and there's no dots here because 0 means none, right? So how many pine cones would we need for our number 0 if we were going to count them? Right, we wouldn't put any pine cones there because 0 means none. So let's move on to our next number here. So we have the number 1, and you can touch the dot here and feel that there's one dot. So how many pine cones would we need for the number 1? That's right, we would only need one pine cone. So we have one pine cone for the number 1. Let's go to the number 2. We can go ahead and feel the dots here. So we have one dot and we have 2 dots. So how many pine cones would we need for the number 2? Exactly, we would need 2 pine cones. Let's go ahead and count them here. So we have 1 pine cone and 2 pine cones. Moving on to number 3, go ahead and touch the dots. We have 1, 2, 3 dots. So how many pine cones would we need? Right, we would need 3 pine cones. So let's count them here. So we have 1 pine cone, 2 pine cones, and 3 pine cones. Going to the next number here. So we have the number 4. And let's count our dots. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 dots. So how many pine cones would we need? Right, we would need 4 pine cones. So let's count those quick. So we have 1, 2 pine cones, 3 pine cones, and 4 pine cones. And let's do our last number. Let's count the dots. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's our number 5. So how many pine cones would we need for the number 5? Exactly, we would need 5 pine cones. So let's go ahead and count those. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there are 5 pine cones. So let's go back and let's start from the beginning and let's just count through them all really quick. So we have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Hopefully you learned how to count from 0 to 5. And if you already know how to count from 0 to 5, what you could do instead is rearrange your numbers. So maybe you place them all over the place, and then you just have to try to put them all back in order in the right way. I hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll see you in the next one.